let's take a look at the first test. So Preeti, you want to tell us a little bit about the background before you even started testing
Sure.
about why you thought you should make it easy to read and share?
Yeah. So as Gaurav mentioned, we are the lead generation for our providers. And within our organization, our marketing efforts are actually handled by a separate group who are driving a lot of traffic to our websites. And working with them, and actually at a focus group, we observed that a lot of members coming to our websites could not actually read the content. We saw high bounce rates from our product pages. We had the marketing team complain, we're sending traffic, but we're not seeing them convert over to the providers. We went through a focus group, and I was very opposed initially. What can you really learn from a focus group? But it's interesting to actually see members throwing their glasses across the table saying, I can't see this content because you've got a gray background, and even there is no place for me to increase the font size. And what you'll see on the next slide is what the page looked like before we ran. So this is the control. See the gray background. You've got a lot of colors going on there. You've got a lot of buttons. And then the font size actually on the control was 9 point. We know that our members cannot read that. So not only in our test did we increase the font size to 12, we changed the background color. They're not very much interested in anything fancy. They wanted plain white because this is the newspaper generation. And they like to read, as we heard in the session before. So on to the next slide. What we did was, as I mentioned, change the background color, reduce the imagery, and then the other thing we noticed is the high adoption in terms of the number of people who actually click on increasing the font size. We partner, for example, with United Healthcare. They mentioned we don't see an increased adoption, but we did. And now we have providers adopting the same philosophy. We've also seen actually a huge adoption of our email share and the social share. And again, this was some of the insight that came from a focus group when members mentioned, well, I wouldn't mind actually sharing this content with my friends.
Now let's take a look at some of those specific results. So you saw a decrease in bounce rate.
Bounce rates, which means increased referrals for us because people can actually read the content, and then it fulfills our need, which is a lead generator for our providers who then convert them into members.
I think I'd like to add is, like Dan had mentioned, I was initially opposed to the idea. I said, okay, 9 to 12 font size, you can go in the browser setting, change from 100 to 140%. Why do you want to spend time and effort doing that? And she really had to convince me, and I had to really convince my management to say, out of these 10 tests we are running, this could be prioritized, because we didn't see much value initially, because technically you can do it, but our customer base will not do that. So this was a huge learning for us, saying, listen to the members and test what they're telling you versus assuming about them and doing what you think is right.
Yeah, and so that's a key point. So when we get up here and we present some of these case studies, I always feel for the marketers in some way. Because everyone sits in the audience and I see you nodding your heads and it's like, well, yes, if you remove a gray background and make a point size, the point size higher, maybe people can read it more. But you have to think about, this was not the only thing these two were focused on. They were focused on many, many, many different things. And so it was really key, I think, how Preeti convinced her boss that, hey, this is something we should take the time to prioritize and focus on. And because of that, they saw a 12% decrease in bounce rate, but they also saw an increase in email sharing and social sharing. I think part of that, you said, it was that you had the icons there. Because before you had the sharing, but it was just text, and adding the icons really.
Adding icons, that also we learned from a focus group that this generation, they definitely want to see icons that actually depicts what they're going to be getting. And we tested 2 creatives, one without an icon, and of course the creative with the icon one.
So I think that's a takeaway for everyone in the audience. A lot of times, since we're very into A/B testing and optimization, we like to give focus groups a hard time. I like to call it, would you buy a pretend product that doesn't exist with pretend money you don't have? And then we use that for justification for launching a product. But what they did was so great. They used the focus group to inform themselves, to convince management to run the test, but then they actually ran a test to see if it worked.